In Szymbark, Poland, is a house that was built upside down and stands on its roof. This unusual tourist attraction was created as a way to show how the world would look if everything was reversed. The upside-down house in Szymbark was built in 2007 and has since become a popular tourist destination. The Eiffel Tower wasn't intended to be permanent. In 1909, it was scheduled for demolition, while it was saved to be used as a radio tower. In Japan, there are owl cafes where you can play with live owls while enjoying a drink or meal.
There's another one right there. This guy right here. Oh, look at him, he looks crazy.
Okay, this one's really cool. We're not allowed to touch this one. It's a great gray owl.
Like, if you were walking too fast, you would definitely not see him. He looks so sleepy though.
There's an annual race in Gloucester, England, in which competitors race down a steep hill chasing a big rolling cheese. In Finland, there's a giant rock named Kumakivi that is sitting perfectly on a seemingly curved mound. The name translates to strange rock, since nobody knows how it got there. The world's most densely populated island is the size of 2 soccer fields, Santa Cruz del Islote in the archipelago of San Bernardo off the coast of Colombia, but the artificial island has 4 main streets and 10 neighborhoods. Indonesia has the most earthquakes of any country. Japan has the second most. Indonesia is a very active seismic zone also, but because of its larger size than Japan, it has more total earthquakes. White chocolate doesn't actually contain any real chocolate. It's just cocoa butter mixed with sugar, often with a little vanilla added for flavoring. Antarctica is the windiest place on Earth. During the winter, frigid winds of over 150 miles per hour, or 241.4 kilometers, are commonly reported, with an annual average wind speed of 50 miles per hour, or 80.5 kilometers per hour. Salt was worth its weight in gold during Roman times, which means Roman soldiers were often paid with salt. Salt was a valuable commodity, also referred to as white gold. This high demand for salt was due to its important use in preserving food, especially meat and fish. An owl cannot move its eyes from side to side. That is why it needs to be able to turn its head all the way around. There's a city in the Netherlands called Giethoorn that has no streets, only water canals. There's over 100 arch bridges along the canals that permit pedestrians and cyclists to transit, but most of the houses can be accessed by boat only. In those houses, the mail is delivered by punt. By law, all Andorrans must keep a rifle at their home in case of an emergency. If they don't, the police loan a rifle to every able-bodied man between 21 and 60 years old. The Golden Lotus Temple in India feeds thousands of people that show up randomly, no matter the race, religion, or social class. One of the largest ethnic groups in Luxembourg, proportionally to the national population, is the Portuguese people. They're approximately 16.1% of the total population. Blue whales are so big that their hearts are heavier than a car, and they have tongues that weigh more than an elephant. There's a book named Everything Men Know About Women. It has 100 pages, but all of them are blank and there are no words at all. There's a swing at the edge of a cliff in Ecuador which has absolutely no safety measures. It's hanging from a treehouse overlooking an active volcano. Known for its danger, they call it the swing at the end of the world. There's an insect called the assassin bug, which wears its victim's corpse as armor. If you use a paper towel after washing your hands, the bacteria will decrease by 40%. If you prefer to use a hand dryer, it can actually increase the bacteria up to 220%. The reason for that is that bacteria grow quickly if the environment is warm and moisturized. Norway has education measures that allow any student from anywhere in the world to study at their public universities completely free of charge. There's an alarm clock named Clocky that has wheels, and if you do not get out of bed on the expected time, it runs away and hides so you won't be able to turn it off while laying down. To get all the average human blood drained by mosquitoes, it would take around 1.2 billion of them. Each of the mosquitoes would suck one time. The famous Cleopatra was not Egyptian. She was actually Macedonian Greek. The Devil's Bridge is a 19th century structure in Cromlau, Germany. It was designed to make a perfect circle with its reflection in the water below. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. It was apparently chosen because of its connection with dominance and chivalry, as well as purity and innocence in Celtic mythology. Gorillas can catch human colds and other kinds of diseases and illnesses. When squirrels forget where they've buried a stash of nuts and abandon them, it helps the trees grow. So this nut dispersal is of great benefit to the trees. Ants are capable to make a plan of action when they go to war, just like humans do. They have some similar strategies, such as sending out the weaker ants out to fight first. Also, some kinds of ants live in colonies to prepare thousands or even millions of individuals to go out to war to fight against others for territory or food. The reason why traditional pizza that contains tomato sauce, basil, and cheese is called margherita is because of the Queen Margherita of Italy. According to legend, it also represents the colors of the Italian flag. A giraffe is an animal that doesn't have any vocal cords, so it means technically that they don't have a voice. They do have a larynx or voice box, but due to their 13-foot-long necks, they adapted to not having vocal cords and carry the vibration to make a sound. 97% of all the water on Earth is salt water, and only 3% is fresh water. Considering that 3% of fresh water, 2% of it is contained in ice sheets and glaciers that are in the ocean. Humans lose an entire outer layer of skin in around 2 to 4 weeks, roughly shedding 50 million cells a day. Although this number may sound high, the human body can replace 20 million cells in just a few seconds. Polar bears have black skin. The fur itself consists of transparent, hollow hair. It reflects very well the white sunlight, giving the illusion of a bright color. Since the sun's light is white, it's the color we perceive polar bears to be. People in Switzerland eat the most chocolate, 22 pounds per person a year. The original name for Australia was New Holland. After Dutch navigators charted the northern, western, and southern coasts of Australia during the 17th century, this newly found continent became known as New Holland. It was the English explorer Matthew Flinders who made the suggestion of the name we use today. The country Brazil was named after a tree. Brazil was discovered in 1500 by the Portuguese explorer Pedro Álvares Cabral, who landed near the present-day city of Santa Cruz de Cabralia in the state of Bahia. At that time, pau-brasil was plentiful in the coastal forests of Brazil. There's a village called Barley whose territory is divided into a patchwork of Belgian and Dutch territories. If your house lies in the middle of the borders, sovereignty is determined by the location of your front door. The Belgian side of the village is called Barle Hertog, and the Dutch parts are called Barle Nassau. The Guadiana River is a natural border that separates Spain and Portugal, and it can be crossed by a zip line. The countries have different time zones, so after landing from the zip line, people will be 1 hour earlier or later. The Relámpago del Caratumbo, or the Everlasting Storm, is a persistent storm in Venezuela that's been going on since at least the 16th century. It produces lightning 140 to 160 nights per year, 10 hours per day, and about 280 times an hour. There's a place in Brazil called Valle da Lua, which means Moon Valley, because of its very interesting landscape. It has a rock formation of undulating pits and hollows that look like the surface of the moon. Eons of sand and water have carved the rocky gray landscape and created countless pots and bulbous craters as the water ebbed and flowed in regular surges. If you visit the place, you can swim in the pools between the rocks and walk through the formations. A cockroach can remain alive without its head for up to several weeks. It will only die because of hunger. The cheetah is the fastest land animal, and it can get a speed of between 75 miles or 120 kilometers per hour. The fastest bird is the falcon, which records a speed of 242 miles or 389 kilometers per hour. France's largest border is not in Europe as thought, but is actually with Brazil, and it has 453 miles or 730 kilometers. The France-Brazil border limits the territories of the state of Amapá in Brazil and the French Guiana, and it is located in the Amazon rainforest. The human birth control pills have the same effect on gorillas. There's an event known as the annual red crab migration that happens on a small island located in the Indian Ocean of Australia called Christmas Island, where every year 50 million adult crabs migrate from the forest to breed. The Spotted Lake in British Columbia, Canada is a saline endorbeic alkali lake formed by hundreds of separate pools. It is considered a sacred place because according to the native people, the lake had therapeutic waters and each of the circles had different healing and medicinal properties. The tradition of kissing after we say I do in weddings started with the ancient Romans. When they reached an agreement, they would kiss as a legal seal of the contract, either for marriages or anything else. The only country in the world that has a non-quadrilateral national flag is Nepal. It's the shape of two pennants, one on top of the other. When a person lies, they experience an increase in temperature around the nose, known as the Pinocchio effect. This illusion does trick your proprioceptors in a way. Your brain tells you that your nose is extremely long or far away, but in reality, that feeling is just an illusion. It is estimated that only 8% of the world's total money is real. The rest exists electronically on computer hard drives or bank accounts. In 2013, a lost Egyptian city named Heraklion was discovered underwater after being lost for 1,200 years in the Mediterranean Sea. The country of Wales contains more castles per square miles than any other country in the world. There are more than 600 castles in Wales, which some of them have been lived in continuously for 1,000 years, while others are romantic ruins. The population of Ireland is still 2 million less than it was before the Great Potato Famine of 1845 to 1852. Woodingding Well in England is 1,285 feet deep, making it the deepest hand-dug well in the world. Scientists believe that dreaming about an activity can make you better at it. Strange combinations of ideas in our dreams may make us more creative and give us ideas that help us to solve problems. Australia's dingo fence is longer than the Great Wall of China. Dingo fence, dog fence, stretches about 5,600 kilometers, from Jimbor on the Darling Downs near Dalby to the cliffs of Nullarbor Plains. Lemon contains more sugar than a strawberry does. The reason that the lemon tastes sour, even having more sugar than the strawberry, is that the lemon contains a high amount of citric acid, usually 3% to 6%, that dominated the sweet taste of the lemon and results in the sour taste. The world's oceans look like they are flat, but they are not. Because of the gravity combined with high winds, there are different levels of the sea around the world. The Pacific Ocean is surrounded by something called the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is a large collection of active volcanoes. With only 6 commissioned ships and displacement well under 10,000 tons, the Estonian Navy is one of the smallest navies in the world. The 1666 Great Fire of London burned for 5 days and destroyed almost 90% of London's homes, but it only killed 8 people. A blue moon, in which the moon appears blue and full, only appears once in 2.7 years. There's a small township in India called Auroville. In this town, they have no money or religion, and they live entirely in peace. In this town, people believe in the service of truth beyond any religious principles. There's a temple at the center of the town called Matra Mandir, which doesn't belong to any specific religion or sect. China is home to half of the pig population on Earth. China is the leading pork producer worldwide, producing about 55 million metric tons of pork each year. There's a flower called chocolate cosmos that smells like chocolate but isn't edible. Tokyo was once called Edo. Tokyo began life as a village known as Edo. In 1868, when Shogunate period came to an end, which lasted for almost 700 years, the new emperor Meiji moved his residence there. Tyrophobia is the fear of cheese. Some people can feel anxious for smelling, seeing, tasting, or even thinking about cheese. The In-Tempo skyscraper in Spain has 47 floors but no elevators. At the same time, this is the tallest building without elevators. Beetles are the most common type of insect eaten by humans. Cows have best friends and can be stressed when separated by them. Research from the University of Northampton has highlighted the human-like relationships among cows. The research found that cows have selective friendships and experience significantly less stress when they're hanging out with their mates. According to scientists, the weight of the average cloud is the same as 100 elephants. In other words, the water droplets and ice crystals make an average weight of around 550 tons. The Okinawa Island in Japan has over 400 people living above the age of 100 and is known as the healthiest place on Earth. If you wrote out every number in English, 1, 2, 3, etc., you wouldn't use the letter B until you reached 1 billion. There's a spot in the United States called the Four Corners, and in this spot, you can stand in 4 different states at once. It's the spot where Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, and Colorado meet. There's a huge floating lantern festival in Chiang Mai, Thailand, the Yiping Lantern Festival. The event is organized every year as an ancient tradition to honor Buddha and also with the purpose of releasing negative energy and wishing for good things for the coming year. Deep-fried tarantula is a kind of snack considered a delicacy in Cambodia. It's become a popular experience for tourists, and some vendors sell up to 100 per day. The 1984 election is very significant in New Zealand's history, and it happened after the Prime Minister got drunk and spontaneously called for an election, which he lost. The most popular sport in the world is football, with over 3.5 billion fans. Second place goes to cricket, with over 2.5 billion fans, followed by field hockey, with over 2 billion fans. There is actually a name for the desire that some people have to stay in bed all day, and it's called clinomania. If you go to a remote and dark area during a clear night, you'll be able to see about 2,000 stars in the sky. You can look for them all around, but there's no mosquitoes in Iceland. The reason for that is not quite clear. Ancient Egyptians believed that mushrooms were the plants of immortality that were given to people by the god Osiris. If you drop lemons into water, it will float, while limes sink. They both have densities close to water, but limes are slightly denser, which is why they sink. Trees speak to each other by sending signals to each other through their roots. Trees share water and nutrients through the networks and also use them for communication. Humans and kangaroos are genetically remarkably similar. There are a few differences. We have a few more of this, a few less of that, but they are the same genes, and a lot of them are in the same order. In 2013, the remains of England's King Richard III were found buried under a parking lot in Leicester, England. In 1485, he was the last English king to die on the battlefield. Your fingernails grow 2 to 3 times faster than your toenails, and the fingernails on your dominant hand tend to grow faster than on your other hand. A type of rainbow can be created from the light of the moon, and it's called a moonbow. Hugs make you healthier. Hugging someone for 20 seconds or longer releases a hormone called oxytocin. This hormone has been shown to boost the immune system, reduce stress, and increase heart health. Sea otters hold hands when they sleep. It keeps them from floating away from each other. Marshmallows exist because of sore throats. For centuries, juice from the marshmallow plant has been used for pain relief. In the 1800s, it was mixed with egg whites and sugar for children with sore throats. And the recipe was so tasty that people turned it into a treat called a marshmallow. Even though it's known worldwide for its casinos, Monaco doesn't allow its citizens to even step foot in its casinos unless they work there. This law excludes foreign nationals that reside in Monaco and account for about 80% of the population. Before the early 1500s, the color we know as orange was called giolorade, meaning yellow-red. Orange wasn't used as a color in English until after the fruit was introduced to the British. In the 18th and 19th centuries, squirrels were popular pets. They were sold in pet shops and were a preferred pet among the wealthy. There's enough water in Lake Superior to cover all the land in North and South America in 1 foot of water. The 4 ghosts in Pac-Man are all programmed to do certain things. Blinky, the red ghost, chases you. Pinky, the pink ghost, simply tries to position herself in front of Pac-Man. Inky, the blue ghost, tries to position himself in the same way, and Clyde, the orange ghost, moves randomly. There are over 50 million monkeys in India. There's an attraction in Croatia called the Museum of Broken Relationships, where people who experienced an unpleasant breakup leave their personal objects with an explanation related to the situation. Anyone can visit the museum. The largest city inaccessible by road in the world is called Iquitos. It's located in the Amazon rainforest and has over 400,000 people. Iceland imports ice cubes. A lot of capital, labor, goods, and services between Iceland, Norway, and the EU countries can make free cross-border movement. Importing ice to Iceland is tax-free, which helps to keep prices low. Cats rub against people and furniture to mark their territory. When a cat rubs against something, they are forming an affiliation with that person, animal, or item. Sharks have a very well-developed sense of hearing. Their ears are small holes on the side of their head that lead directly to the inner ear. They are particularly good at hearing low-frequency noises, such as an injured fish would make, and at finding out where that noise is coming from. There are an estimated 1 million spiders per acre of land. In the tropics, there are closer to 3 million per acre. Sargasso Sea is the only sea that does not have a coastline. The Sargasso Sea is linked to the mysterious happenings of the Bermuda Triangle, and it's said that it steals people from their boats. Many boats have been found floating around in that sea without anyone on board. Humans are capable of feeling the effect of a broken heart. This is known as stress cardiomyopathy in medical terms. If you're suffering from a broken heart, your blood can have 3 times the amount of adrenaline than someone suffering from a heart attack. 300 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute, and almost 5 billion videos are watched on YouTube every single day. Adding sugar to a wound will greatly reduce the pain and speed up the healing process. The granules soak up any moisture that allows bacteria to thrive. Without bacteria, the wound heals more quickly. America accidentally dropped an atom bomb on South Carolina in 1958. In March 1958, a B-47 plane was headed to the United Kingdom and was armed with an atomic bomb. This bomb was even bigger than the fat boy the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki. There's a website that tracks the world's population in real time. As of 2021, the overall human population is estimated to be more than 7.8 billion people. And if you want to watch that increase in real time, you can tune in to the World Population Clock, which shows the upticks and downticks as babies are born and people die. All the ants on Earth weigh about as much as all the humans. The total population of people who are alive on Earth hasn't even hit 8 billion. At the same time, there are 10 quadrillion individual ants crawling around at any given time. An early proposed version of the Statue of Liberty was offered to Egypt as a gift by France, but when it never came to be, a later design was given to America instead. Greenland is the least densely populated country in the world. Greenland is the 12th largest country in the world in terms of area, with a population density of only 0.026 people per square kilometer, which ranks last in the world. Las Vegas casinos have no visible clocks and no windows. The idea behind this is to lose track of time, paying no attention to the hours people spend or the time of day or night. So this would encourage people to just keep trying their luck. Clouds appear to be darker because they are thicker, which prevents more light from passing through. Thinner clouds allow more light through and appear white. Seen from an airplane, the top of the cloud will still appear white since the top receives more light. Madrid is not only the capital of Spain, it is also the geographical center of the country. And in the center of Madrid, you can find the Puerta del Sol, the Sun Gate, which is the center of the country and the Spanish radio road system. Hawaiian pizza is Canadian. It was invented in 1962 in Ontario, Canada. Unlike many other members of the cat family, tigers actually enjoy water and can swim well. They often soak in streams or pools of water to cool off. Turkey sure does love tea. They consume the most tea per person in the world. That is almost 7 pounds of tea per year. The United States experiences 75% of the world's tornadoes. About 1,200 tornadoes hit the U.S. every year. The actor who plays Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, once saved a plane from crashing in 2001 after the pilot passed out, despite never having piloted a plane before. There's a restaurant in New Jersey owned by Bon Jovi where there are no fixed prices. Instead, customers donate money or volunteer to pay their meals. It is impossible for you to tickle yourself. When you try to tickle yourself, the cerebellum predicts the sensation, and this prediction is used to cancel the response of other brain areas to the tickle. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is the largest living structure in the world, stretching for 1,429 miles over an area of approximately 133,000 square miles. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest coral reef system in the world. The Arabian Desert contains the world's largest continuous body of sand. The contiguous sand body, known as the Rub al-Khali, or the Empty Quarter, is about 250,966 square miles. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, was the only European capital outside Europe. It was the capital of Portugal from 1808 to 1822. Napoleon was invading Portugal at the time, so the Portuguese royal family moved to Rio, and it became the capital. Founded in 1565, St. Augustine, Florida is the oldest U.S. city. 42 years before the English colonized Jamestown, the Spanish established at St. Augustine, this nation's first enduring settlement. Australia's coastline is over 16,000 miles long, and it has over 10,000 beaches, more than any other country. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, Mussolini, and Hitler all suffered from ailurophobia, the fear of cats. Before the 17th century, carrots were purple until a mutation changed the color to what we know now. The modern-day orange carrot wasn't cultivated until Dutch growers in the late 16th century took mutant strains of the purple carrot and gradually developed them into the sweet, plump, orange variety we have today. The smallest bone in your body is in your ear. It's called the stapes bone. This delicate bone works with two others in the ear to send sound vibrations into the inner ear. Space is a very, very cold place. The baseline temperature of outer space is minus 454.81 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 270.45 degrees Celsius, meaning it is barely above absolute zero, the point at which molecular motion stops. The highest divorce rate in the world is Luxembourg at 87%. The lowest is India with 1%. Scallops have approximately up to 200 tiny eyes situated around the edge of their shell. Arrayed across the opening of its shell, the eyes glitter like an underwater necklace. Each sits at the tip of its own tentacle and can be extended beyond the rim of the shell. Coffee was so influential in early Turkish culture that the word for breakfast literally translates to before coffee, and the word brown translates to the color of coffee. There's a lake in the country of Palau called Jellyfish Lake, where jellyfish have evolved without stingers. These golden jellyfish are completely harmless to humans, and you can even swim with them. The first fast food restaurants originated in the United States with A&W in 1919 and White Castle in 1921. Humans only make up 48% of users on the internet. According to a new report, the human race is a minority on the internet. Studies suggest that bots generate 52% of all website traffic. The heart of a shrimp is located in its head. They also have an open circulatory system, which means they have no arteries and their organs float directly in blood. Flossing your teeth improves memory. Research suggests that if you keep your gums healthy and avoid gum disease, it will lead to the prevention of stiff blood vessels. Preventing stiff blood vessels also prevents memory problems. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards, you get a combination that's never existed. Any math experts out there know that this is because the probability comes out to 52 factorial, or 52. Dolphins don't drink, as seawater makes them ill or could even potentially kill them. Instead, they get all their liquids from the food that they eat. Antarctica experiences 24 hours of sunlight in the summer and 24 hours of darkness during the winter. Earth's core is as hot as the surface of the sun. New research showed the Earth's inner core is around 6,000 degrees Celsius, which is hot as the sun's surface. The highest scoring soccer game in history was 149-0 between two teams in Madagascar in 2002. The average person spends 6 months of their life sitting at red lights waiting for them to turn green. Wind actually doesn't make any sounds until it passes through or comes into contact with an object. A snail can sleep for 3 years. Snails need moisture to survive, so if the weather is not cooperating, they can actually sleep for up to 3 years. Lake Baikal in Siberia is the deepest lake on Earth, with a maximum depth of 1,642 meters or 5,387 feet, and holds over 20% of the Earth's surface freshwater. You can pay to go with National Geographic on its expeditions to exotic places, such as Antarctica or any polar region. This could include kayaking into remote lands, stroll through a colony of king penguins, and witness polar bears hunt for their food along infinite glaciers. If the moon didn't exist, a day on Earth would be 6 to 8 hours long. There could be more than 1,000 days in 1 year. That's because the Earth's rotation slows down over time thanks to the gravitational force, or pull of the moon, and without it, days would go by in a blink. In Germany, there's no punishment for a prisoner who tries to escape if no other laws are broken. They assume the desire for freedom is natural. The company Google was originally called Backrub, a research project that was begun in 1996 by Larry Page and Sergey Brin when they were both PhD students at Stanford University in Stanford, California. Alcatraz used to be the only U.S. federal prison where inmates got a hot shower. They didn't want inmates to get acclimated to cold water in case they tried to swim to shore. The Neanderthal's brain was 10% bigger than ours, the Homo sapiens, but they were not as intellectual as us. This is because their brains were more devoted to vision, where more of ours is devoted for reasoning, decision-making, and social interaction. More than 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter that contributes to the feelings of well-being and happiness, is produced in the digestive tract. In 1866, in the last battle Liechtenstein ever participated in, they sent out an army of 80 men for the Austro-Prussian War. They came back with 81 men. They had no casualties and picked up an extra soldier along the way. The smallest inhabited island divided between two countries is St. Martin in the Caribbean Sea. It belongs partially to France and another part to the Netherlands. It has one of the craziest airports where the planes land close to the beach. In Unison Spa Resort in Japan, you can have the experience of soaking yourself into green tea, coffee, red wine, or sake. The spa provides these very specific giant baths. The world's biggest tomato throwing fight takes place in Buñol, Spain, and happens every year on the last Wednesday of August. There's a village called Zalipie in Poland where all the buildings have flowers painted. Coca-Cola is not sold in North Korea and Cuba. For only $70,000 a night, you can rent the Liechtenstein country with the street signs and temporary currency all customized for you. There's a river in Colombia called Caño Cristales, whose nickname is Liquid Rainbow because of its colors. Its coloration is caused by an aquatic plant, and it can be from yellow, green, blue, black, and mainly red. The meeting of the waters is the place where the waters of the Rio Negro and the upper part of the Amazon River, known as the Rio Solimões, meet. It happens in Manaus City, in the Amazon part of Brazil. The Solimões has a sandy-colored water, while the Rio Negro, that means literally black water, has black water. Different from expected, the colors of the river do not blend, and you can see a clear line that separates the two rivers. To test the strength of husbands in Finland, they organize a wife-carrying race every year. The husband carries the wife while ascending the fences and running downhill or slogging through mud ponds. The wife's role is to be flexible for doing strange and inverted yoga poses. The first race took place 793 AD after the Viking invasion of villages on the island of Lindisfarne off the coast of England. The crossbar that forms the top of a goal was introduced in 1875, and until 1912, goalkeepers could handle the ball anywhere as long as it's in their own half. The Amazon River has a length of 6,436 kilometers, and there's no bridges found along its extent. The Amazon rainforest is fertilized by the sand from the Sahara Desert. The wind blows the minerals from the Sahara all the way to the Amazon. If you visit Taiwan, you can use free Wi-Fi using the hotspots all over the island. It's become the first country to offer free internet to its citizens and tourists, and it has over 4,000 hotspots across its area. There's a skywalk in China, located on Tiananmen Mountain, which is 200 feet or 61 meters long, and it's made of thick glass or 8.2 feet or 2.5 meters. It's located in such a high position that visitors can contemplate the peaks of the mountains below them. The longest conflict in human history was the war between the Romans and Persians, which lasted about 721 years in total. If you want to buy chewing gum in Singapore, you would have to get a prescription. Chewing gum is only allowed for therapeutic purposes, like the nicotine ones. There's an anonymous memorial in Paris to natives who passed away unnamed, where the public can visit catacombs displayed with human bones such as femurs and skulls. The open exhibition has around 1.5 kilometers or 1 mile of subterranean tunnels carved from limestone, and it fits around 6 million remains, and that is only one part of the site. No Asian country has ever won any medals in the 100-meter dash at the Olympics. The colors red, yellow, and orange are proven to stimulate hunger, and that's the reason why they're used by fast food restaurant brands. There's an ancient tree in the churchyard of the village of Fortingall in Scotland, which is around 2,000 to 3,000 years old according to specialists. The tree named Fortingall Yew is one of the oldest trees in Europe. There's a Chilean town in Antarctica with around 150 people living during summer and 80 during winter. The city amenities are complete with school, hospital, hostel, post office, and internet coverage. The smallest town in the world is Hum in Croatia, with a total of 17 residents. There's a Roman Catholic chapel in the Czech Republic which is decorated with bones of humans. The Sedlitz ossuary has around 40,000 to 70,000 people's bones in its decoration. The most famous pyramids in the world are in Egypt, but the country that has the most pyramids is Sudan, with around 255 ones. There's a mysterious forest near Grafino, Poland, that has 400 pine trees, and all of them have 90 degrees bend at their trunks, all to the same side. St. Pierre in Miquelon is a part of France that remained in North America, located 900 miles from Boston. People use euro instead of the dollar, vote for elections in France, and their cars and license plates are French. The colors of the lakes of Mount Kelimutu in Indonesia can change between blue, green, black, and red, and it's unpredictable. The colors of Kelimutu are not caused by bacteria such as colored lakes. It's due to the fumaroles and volcanic vents that liberate some sorts of gases like sulfur dioxide. In Japan, you can find a chain of hotels called the Han-na Hotels, which means strange hotel in Japanese. The place is called like that for being the first hotel to be completely run by robots. There are no people to assist the guests. Instead, they are served only by state-of-the-art robots. The second largest ethnic group in Jamaica are the Irish people. They constitute up to 25% of Jamaica's population. The Hill of Crosses in Lithuania is a hill with over 100,000 crosses of variated sizes, from tiny to giant ones. The place is a testament to Lithuanian strength during Soviet rule and now represents the peaceful resistance of Lithuanian Catholicism, even though it was threatened so many times in the country's history. The hill is also a pilgrimage site. Lençóis Maranhenses National Park is a park in Maranhão, Brazil, where during the rainy season some freshwater pools are formed between the dunes that do not drain due to the impermeable rocks beneath. Tourists can visit the place for a bath and other fun activities on the sands. The Ita is the first undersea restaurant in the world, and it's 5 meters under the sea. The venue is located in the Maldives, at the Conrad Maldives Rangali Island, and it's open since April 2005. The largest commercial plane in the world is the Airbus 380, and it has 330 miles or 530 kilometers of electric cables. There's a park in Portland, Oregon, which is only 2 feet in diameter, and it's the smallest park in the world. The train route between Moscow and Vladivostok on the Trans-Siberian Express Railway is the longest in the world, with 5,777 miles or 9,297 kilometers in total. If you go to the triple border point between Slovakia, Austria, and Hungary, you will find a picnic table right in the middle. The hottest inhabited place on Earth is Dalal in Ethiopia, where average annual temperatures reach 106 Fahrenheit or 41.4 degrees Celsius. In Lopburi, Thailand, the inhabitants organize a banquet annually for the monkeys that live there. They prepare more than 2 tons of food in honor of the animals. A tarantula, which is a big friendly spider, can survive up to 2 years without eating any food. This is due to their exceptionally low metabolic rate, and they have the property to conserve energy for longer duration. Fraser Islands in Australia is the world's largest island made of sand. It is the only place in the world where a rainforest has been known to grow from sand. A bolt of lightning is 5 times hotter than the sun. The surface of the sun is estimated to be 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. However, a lightning strike can reach 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a vending machine in Singapore that dispenses Coke to anybody that hugs it. It looks like a fairly ordinary machine, but in the brand's iconic red and white. But instead of its logo, this machine says "Hug Me" on the logo font. The companies Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, Ducati, Lamborghini, and Porsche are all owned by Volkswagen. Jellyfish and lobsters are biologically immortal. They do not die of aging. Instead, they have an enzyme called telomerase, which replaces their cells and will do so as long as they live. With an area of 735,400 square miles, Indonesia is the largest island nation. The combined area of archipelago is slightly smaller than Mexico, or larger than 5 times the size of Germany. The multi-ethnic country has a population of more than 271 million people. If your eye were a digital camera, it would have 576 megapixels in them. The average human retina has 5 million cone receptors on it. Since the cones are responsible for color vision, you might suppose that this equates to a 5 megapixel equivalent for the human eye. Japan is home to about a dozen cat islands, places where cats significantly outnumber people. Due to name confusion, the staff of the Slovak and Slovenian embassies meet once a month to exchange wrongly addressed mail. Snails move at a steady pace with a maximum speed of about 50 yards per hour or 0.03 miles per hour. For a human, a lethal dose of chocolate would be about 22 pounds. Theobromine is a powerful stimulant in chocolate and can cause death in high enough doses. The longest street in the world is the Yonge Street in Toronto, Canada, measuring 1,178 miles or 1,895 kilometers. The only way you're able to see a rainbow is if your back is facing the sun. The appearance of a rainbow depends on where you're standing and where the sun or other source of light is shining. Despite factors like income, living where you can see the ocean has been found to reduce psychological stress. The feelings related to calmness and peace are associated with the blue color, and to soothe the brain, it's recommended to listen to the sounds of waves and sea. Butterflies taste with their feet. Their feet have taste sensors on them that help them to locate food for their caterpillars. They stand on a leaf and give it a taste. If they determine the plant is something their caterpillars can eat, they'll lay their eggs in this spot. Researchers say you can fool your mind into thinking you're happy and smiling if you put a pencil between your teeth. Lake Chegan is the only lake artificially created by a nuclear test. Even though the nuclear test was fired in 1965, it's still unsafe for swimming due to radiation. The heaviest drinkers in the world are in Belarus, with 17.5 liters consumed per capita every year. Humans can have anywhere from 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day, with 80% of these thoughts being negative. A penguin can hold its breath for 20 minutes. They dive under the ice in the cold oceans around Antarctica when they hunt for food. In 1967, the Prime Minister of Australia went missing. It was only 4 decades after he went missing that it was confirmed that he had accidentally drowned. Talking to yourself makes your brain more effective. Hearing your own voice actually can calm your brain and make you more focused and smarter. In Quebec, Sweden, and Norway, it's illegal to advertise directly to children. This is to prevent companies from encouraging children to beg their parents to buy them stuff. The Statue of Liberty originally also served as a lighthouse from 1886 to 1901 and could be seen by ships 24 miles away. There's an ancient city called Vilarino da Ferna, which is submerged in water in Portugal. During dry spells, the water levels go down and it's possible to see it. 700 people in the Spanish town Correa del Rio are descended from 17th century samurai that stayed in Spain after an embassy returned to Japan. Their last name is Japon and originally was Hasakura de Japon. There's a lake in Senegal which the French call Le Lac Rosa. Its waters are naturally bright pink, caused by Dunaliella salina algae. The lake is also known for its high salt content, up to 40% in some parts. The gesture of nodding your head up and down in Bulgaria means no, while shaking it from side to side means yes. Due to a misplaced order on Google Maps, Nicaragua invaded Costa Rica in 2010, which originated a conflict in a portion of the Costa Rican mainland island called Isla Calero. The world's largest religious structure is placed in Cambodia called Angkor Wat. It spans 400 acres, 1.6 square kilometers, and it took 37 years to get it built. Gombe is known as the Venice of Africa, and it's the world's largest village completely built on stilts. It has 13 square miles or 34 square kilometers. The state of Tennessee established in 2011 a fine of $2,500 and up to a year in jail for people who share their Netflix password. There's a type of elevator that's non-stop and has no doors, called the Paternoster lift. It was invented in England in 1868, and they're no longer in use due to the lack of safety. It can only be found in a few places in Europe, such as Prague. The largest Christian church in the world is St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, followed by the Basilica of Our Lady Aparecida in the city of Aparecida in Brazil. There's a city being built in the United Arab Emirates that will only be powered by renewable energy resources and zero carbon emissions. The construction is supposed to be finished in 2024. Goats have rectangular pupils instead of round, like other creatures. This feature helps them to protect themselves by allowing them to see danger approaching from their peripheral vision. African elephants can be almost 2 years pregnant, which makes them the mammals with the longest pregnancy. The country that has the most archaeological museums in the world is Greece, and one of the most famous is the Acropolis Museum, located in the capital, Athens. The Australian inland taipan has enough venom to kill 100 adult males in only one single bite, and it can bite about 8 times in one attack. Sondong is the largest cave in the world, and it's located in Vietnam. It has forests and clouds, and it measures more than 5 kilometers, 200 meters high, and 150 meters wide. In Santa Cruz, California, there's a popular tourist attraction called the Mystery Spot. It was opened in 1939 and is recognized as a gravity box or tilted house. People can visit the place and experience demonstrations that appear to defy gravity. For example, a short but steep uphill walk into a wooden building on the site. The place described as the most alien-looking place on Earth is the island of Socotra, which is a very isolated place in the Indian Ocean. A third of the plant life on the island cannot be found in other places. Also, 90% of its reptile species and 90% of the snails are only found in the archipelago. Victoria Falls is a small place in Zambia where during some periods the water can reach certain levels that form an eddy at the top of the waterfall, which allows people to swim to the crest without falling over. The phenomenon is called the Devil's Pool. The longest place name on the planet is 85 letters long. This town can be found on the North Island of New Zealand. The Maori named the location in honor of a native warrior called Tamatea. Every second, we welcome 4 new babies into our overall population. Do a little math and you'll find out that means there are approximately 250 births each minute, 15,000 each hour, and 360,000 each day. You actually lose a large percentage of your taste buds while on an airplane. This might explain a lot about those less than stellar in-flight meals, or why you find yourself craving the saltiest foods while in the sky. When you look at a bright sky and see white dots, you are looking at your blood. Those are white blood cells. Russia has about the same surface area as Pluto. Pluto's surface is 16.7 million square kilometers. Russia is just short of 17.1 million square kilometers. There's a sea organ built on the coast of Croatia. Unlike an ordinary organ powered by bellows or air pumps, the sound of these organs is influenced by the energy of the sea, that is, waves and tides. The average human heart beats more than 2.5 billion times in a lifetime. At an average rate of 80 times a minute, the heart beats about 115,000 times in one day, or about 42 million times in a year. As much as 95% of all dreams are forgotten shortly after waking. Research suggests that the changes in the brain during sleep do not support the information processing and sortage for forming long-lasting memories. There is a southern version of the aurora borealis called the aurora australis. It can be seen from Antarctica, New Zealand, Argentina, and Australia. An aurora is a natural light display in Earth's sky, predominantly seen in high-latitude regions around the Arctic and Antarctic. Contrary to popular belief, washing your hands in warm water doesn't kill any more bacteria than washing them in cold water. This is because bacteria only die when water is boiling. It is possible to get cancer of the heart, but it is very rare. One study reviewed more than 12,000 autopsies and found only 7 people with primary cardiac tumor. Scotland has the highest percentage of natural redheads of any country, about 13%. Scotland's DNA said about 1 to 2% of the world's population has red hair, but in Scotland, the figure is much higher, at around 13%, or about 650,000 people. People over 60 and older make up 12.3% of the global population. Although the majority of the human population is currently under 30 years old, there are still plenty of older folks among us. It's estimated that Sweden has more islands than any other country. With 221,800 islands, Sweden is thought to have more islands than any other country in the world. Only about 1,000 of them are inhabited. Tomatoes and avocados are actually fruits, not vegetables. That definition includes apples, tomatoes, and anything else that grows from a plant and contains seeds. You can get to Norway from North Korea by land just going through one country, Russia. China is the largest country with only one time zone geographically. It has 5 time zones, but it chooses to use one standard time. Caffeine is lethal in high enough doses. It would take about 70 cups of coffee to kill a 150-pound person. You can't cry in space because there is no gravity. Your eyes make tears, but they stick there as a liquid ball and don't flow. In the Czech Republic, there is no Santa Claus. The children believe that baby Jesus brings them the Christmas gifts. Having a late-night snack can cause nightmares, according to a study conducted by the University of Montreal. An Australian man attempted to sell New Zealand on eBay in 2006. Brisk's bidding saw the price quickly climb from just 1 Australian cent to A$3,000, or 1,230 pounds, until eBay managers pulled the auction from the website. A single day on Mercury lasts up to 58 days on Earth. A single year lasts only 88 days on Mercury, but thanks again to its slow rotation, a day lasts twice as long. That means that if you could stand on the surface of Mercury, it would take a staggering 176 Earth days for the sun to rise, set, and rise again to the same place in the sky just once. Frogs do not drink water. They soak it through the skin. They absorb water through their belly, a semi-permeable area of their skin known as a drinking patch, and the underside of their thighs. The tongue is the fastest healing part of the human body. This is due to the presence of saliva that moisturizes the wound, improves immune response to wound healing, and contains other wound healing promoting factors. There's a prison in the United States located in Indiana that allows murderers to adopt cats in their cells. They believe taking care of cats can help people to learn about love and compassion for other living beings. Everyone has a very unique smell. The only way you'll have someone who has the same smell as you is if you have a twin sibling. If you don't, no one smells like you. Until its demolition in 2012, 1% of Greenland's entire population lived in one apartment building called Block P. We are not always aware of the reasons why we make some decisions. 95% of the decisions you make have already been made up by your subconscious mind. Studies have shown that listening to loud music can make you drink faster and drink more. When you get angry, it affects your immune system. If you're angry for a minute, it weakens your immune system for up to 4 to 5 hours. A female octopus can lay tens of thousands of eggs at one time, and when they hatch, she dies. She reproduces only once, and after she lays her eggs, a drastic change in steroid hormone level causes her to mutilate herself to death. There's an area in the Pacific where the United States Army dumped all its equipment after World War II. They did that because it was cheaper than bringing it home. This place is called Million Dollar Point. Tourists throw €1 million into the Trevi Fountain in Rome every year. The city uses this money to fund a supermarket for the poor. If you check the weight of everyone all over the world, the average human body weight is about 137 pounds or 62 kilograms. Sharks can never stop moving, even when they're asleep, although the level of movement would depend on how the shark is breathing. Dolphins intentionally chew on toxic pufferfish to get high. Pufferfish produce a potent defensive chemical, which they eject when threatened. In small enough doses, however, the toxin seems to induce a trance-like state in dolphins that come into contact with it. The Sahara is only in a dry period and is expected to be green again in about 15,000 years. It's very common that male puppies will let female puppies win when they're playing together. It doesn't matter if they have a physical advantage, they will lose on purpose. If you eat too much, your hearing will get less sharp than before. There's a city in Russia called Ozersk, which is so contaminated with nuclear waste that before buying food, people must have all items checked with a Geiger counter for security reasons. Dogs are able to make around 10 different vocal sounds, while cats can make more than 100 variations of oral sounds. The Pyramid of Giza was built from 2.3 million stone bricks, weighing nearly 3 tons each. The total mass of it is 6.5 million tons. It's estimated that it was built over the course of 85 years in total. Lions have the loudest roar of any animal. When they vocalize, it can reach 114 decibels at a distance of about 3.2 feet or 1 meter. That means you can hear a lion roaring from over 2 miles or 3 kilometers away. The Empire State Building is 1,454 feet, 443 meters, height if counting the spire and the antenna, and it's hit by lightning on average of 23 times a year. The first video game was invented in 1958. At that time, it was a very simple tennis game, quite similar to the classic 1970s video game called Pong. The Huns could not write, and all of their depictions were written by their enemies. All the capital cities of the world have traffic lights, except for Bhutan, the capital of the Himalayas. The main riff of Smoke on the Water is actually an interpretation of the inversion of Symphony No. 5, the iconic composition written by Ludwig van Beethoven in the years of 1804 to 1808. The city called Monowai in Nebraska, USA is a small village with a population of only one person, a lady, Elsie Eiler. She's considered the mayor for being the only person living there, but she also works as a cook in the only restaurant in town. There's a mostly intact medieval village in Italy called Craco. It has been abandoned, and it's now a common location for filming and also receives some tourists. In Lake Kaindi, Kazakhstan, there's an underwater forest that was created because of an earthquake that happened in 1911. The landslide caused by the quakes blocked the gorge and formed a natural dam. Due to the rising sea levels, Kiribati will be the first country to be entirely submerged by waters. The government is working on plans to permanently evacuate its population. Dogs are born completely deaf and remain deaf for 2 to 3 weeks, and their eyes remain closed for about 7 to 14 days. When they're newborns, the first sense developed is the sense of touch. The dwarf is the smallest crocodile in the world, and it can grow up to 1.9 meters or 6.2 feet. In the middle of a desert in Dubai, there's the biggest flower garden in the world. There you can find over 500,000 fresh flowers. Ganymede is the name of the biggest moon in our solar system, and it's bigger than Mercury, one of the planets. There's a beer that contains 67.5% alcohol, and it's the strongest beer in the world. It's called snake venom. There are 25,000 Welsh speakers in the Chubut province of Argentina, which makes it the largest population of Welsh speakers outside of the United Kingdom. The island known as Snake Island is off the coast of Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's called that because there are up to 5 snakes per 10 square feet. In some parts of Asia, insect fighting is a popular hobby. In China, they like cricket fighting, while in Japan, beetle fighting is the thing. The Barringer meteorite crater is the best preserved meteor crater in the world, and also the largest meteor impact crater in the United States. It's located in Winslow, in the desert of Arizona. Pilots and co-pilots are recommended to eat different kinds of foods in case one of the meals offered causes food intoxication. Usually, they offer the first-class meal to the pilot, whereas the co-pilot eats the usual business class meal. The world's largest swimming pool is located in the San Anfalso del Mar, a resort in Chile. It holds the Guinness World Record as the deepest pool in the world, measuring 115 feet of depth. There's a statue of a man eating a sack of babies in Bern, Switzerland, and it's 500 years old. No one can actually explain the meaning of that. Chewing gum is illegal in Singapore. It's not allowed to sell, import, or spit it out. On Uranus and Neptune, winds are so heavy that they can reach supersonic speeds. The Canary Islands were named after the dogs founded by the first Europeans who arrived there. In the Latin language, canis means dog. The largest tigers in the world live in Siberia. Amur tigers, sometimes called Siberian tigers, are the biggest tigers, with males weighing up to 660 pounds and measuring up to 10 feet long from nose to tip of the tail. The Philippines consists of 7,641 islands. The Philippines is an archipelago, which means it's made up of a group of islands. 7,641 islands to be exact. A jellyfish has no ears, eyes, nose, brain, or heart. These amazing creatures live fully functional lives and are estimated to have been here before the dinosaurs. Dogs have very unique nose prints, like human fingerprints. The prints are in a furless part of their nose, and it's called the rhinarium. It would take 22.7 years to eat at every restaurant in New York City if you ate at a different one every day. Russia and Japan have still not signed a peace treaty to end World War II. On September 2, 1945, the Allied forces accepted Japan's formal surrender, marking the end of the most destructive global conflict of all time, World War II. But nearly 8 decades later, Japan and Russia technically remain at war. The pollution in China is so bad in some parts that just being in that area for one day is the equivalent of smoking 21 cigarettes. Brazil's capital, Brasilia, looks like an airplane from above. It's located in the federal district carved out of Goiás State on the central plateau of Brazil. Bhutan's Gangkhar Puensum is the world's highest unclimbed mountain. It is 24,840 feet high and has been off limits to climbers since 1994, when Bhutan prohibited all mountaineering above 6,000 meters due to spiritual and religious beliefs. Cuba is the largest exporter of sugar in the world. Cuba, along with India and Brazil, is one of the world's 3 leading producers of cane sugar and the largest exporter of sugar of any kind. The nation produces an average of 8 million metric tons of sugar annually, exporting more than 80% of it. The typical height of a tsunami wave in the Pacific Ocean is between 19.7 feet to 29.5 feet, or 6.00456 meters to 8.9916 meters high. Mandarin, Hungarian, and Finnish are among the most difficult language for The Arabian Peninsula is the largest subregion in the world without any permanent natural river. If you weigh 150 pounds on the Earth, you will weigh 4,200 pounds on the Sun. This is because the Sun is so much more massive than the Earth, its gravitational pull is also much larger. When it started, Starbucks only sold whole roaster coffee beans. In 1971, founders of Starbucks started by selling coffee beans roasted by Pete's, then began roasting their own. For a decade, the few Starbucks stores sold just beans and not coffee drinks, but those gourmet beans were popular and profitable. Julius Caesar, a well-known Roman general and statesman, was the one that introduced the months of July, named after him, and August, named after his successor. In the country of Japan, they have square watermelons, which were created to make them easier to stack in stores. The giant red spot on Jupiter is a storm that has been raging for over 150 years and is larger in diameter than Earth.